Hello Math Analysis students. In this video we're going to go over the last page of the unit review on conic sections. There's 3 problems. For this section you do need to be able to graph and find the center and the foci and answer any questions about the conic sections. So first off, let's start with number 14. This is the equation of a circle, which is the basic equation x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, which is the form that we have here. We can tell that our center is going to be 0, 4, and our radius, since this number 4 is r squared, that means that r is 2, so our radius is 2. So to graph that, just plot your center at 0, 4, and 2 in every direction, so left 2, right 2, up 2, down 2, and then connect them and make them look like a circle. Your circle doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be round-ish. If you're really having some issues, then, you have an eraser. Feel free to use it. Go back and make something that looks like a roundish figure. Does not have to be perfect, but it should not have any corners. Moving on to number 15. This is an ellipse, but it's not quite in the right form for an ellipse. For an ellipse, we need to have numbers underneath our x squared and our y squared, and our right-hand side needs to be equal to 1. So we need to divide by this constant, which is 48, divide the x term by it, divide by the y term, and divide the right-hand side. Then we get a simplified equation of x squared over 1 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. For this ellipse, our center is 0, 0. So plot that. Remember that the number underneath the x is telling us about how much we're moving left and right. This is a squared. So we are, we're moving left and right 1, and we're moving up and down 2 units. For an ellipse, it is important where the bigger number is. The bigger number tells us whether it's horizontal or vertical, and our a value here is the bigger number. So our a for this is 2, and our b value is 1. We can go ahead and graph that. And to get our foci, or our focus points, we need to use our relationship c squared equals a squared minus b squared. We have our a squared and our b squared values. A squared is 4, b squared is 1, which means that c squared is 3. So our c value is the square root of 3. Now to find our focus points, that means that we're moving from the center, we're going to move this far, the square root of 3, along our major axis. Since our major axis is vertical here, this means we'll be moving up square root of 3 and down square root of 3 from the center. And so there's 2 ways we could write this. We could write this as 2 coordinates. We're going to be going 0 square root of 3 and 0 negative square root of 3. Or if you prefer, you could write it all in 1 coordinate as 0 plus or minus the square root of 3. And for our last problem, this is a hyperbola. Our center is going to be -5, -1. Careful, because even though our y term comes first, which indicates to us that this is going to open vertically, when we're listing our center coordinate, the x coordinate always has to come first, so -5, -1. Our a value here, in this case it's not necessarily the bigger one, but the a value is the one that's underneath our first term. So our a value would be 3, because 3 squared is 9. Our b value is 2, because 2 squared is 4. We can go ahead and graph this. Our center is at -5, -1. Number under the y tells us we're going to move up 3 and down 3. Number underneath the x tells us we're going to go left 2 and right 2. And then we're going to make our box, or our rectangle, just by moving straight across, straight up and down. And then draw in the diagonals for this rectangle. You do need to draw in the box, and you do need to draw in the diagonals to get your hyperbola the correct size. Since our y term comes first, that means that this is going to be opening up and down. So we'll use this top and this bottom vertex point. We need 2 parabolas that go through these vertices and get close to our asymptotes. there is one. And here is the other one. To find our c value and our focus points, we need to use our relationship that c squared equals a squared plus b squared. We have our a and our b. So a squared is 9, b squared is 4. That gives us c squared is 13, which gives us that c is the square root of 13. And for our foci, they are going to be located square root of 13 units from our center, which is at -5, -1. And since this opens vertically, that means we're going to go up square root of 13 and down square root of 13 from our center point. So our x-coordinate is -5, and then our y-coordinate -1, and that's where we're going up and down square root of 13. And so these would be the values. If you wanted, you could split this up and write it as -5, -1 plus square root of 13, and -5, -1 minus the square root of 13. And there you go. Good luck.